can hold it together until somebody says like, are you okay, or what's wrong, or something, and then you just the floodgates open. That was me. Hey, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a long time no see. I miss you guys. I really did. I really miss recording. I miss editing. Like, I went to school for this, so duh, I miss it. Why wouldn't I miss it? I think this will be my last time doing it right here, like this little setup. I don't know. I just be on the couch chilling because I'm talking to y'all. So I just wanted to be on the couch and chill with y'all. But anyway, today is going to be a story time about the time I got, I guess you could say, bamboozled out of a trip to Paris by a celebrity. I really didn't want this to be the first video that I came back with, but my father recently went on a trip to Dubai, and they had like a layover in Paris. Don't ask why I didn't go to Dubai. If you don't get nothing from this story time, never turn down a trip to Dubai with your daddy. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Anyway, they had a layover in Paris, and it kind of just brought back this incident. And yeah, I was kind of on the fence about sharing it, just because one, like, it brings back sad memories, and not necessarily the actual event that happened, but just all the stuff I was dealing with during that time. So I'm not gonna ramble and talk y'all heads off too long, too much. Yeah, so we're just gonna get right into the story. I did write some notes down on my phone, not because I forgot, but I tend to like ramble when I talk about certain stories that kind of are like to my heart a little bit. And yeah, like, y'all understand why it's kind of sad, but I was also angry. So yeah. Anyway, so let's just get into the story time. I was going to do like a sip with Sophie segment. Let me know in the comments if y'all want to do that. It won't always be like a story time, but it will be like a time we can sit down and just talk. So yeah, let me know if y'all want to do that. But I don't have anything to drink or eat. I just finished eating. But if you got something to drink or something to eat, or even if you one of the people that like to roll up or get your hookah, go ahead and grab that. And let's get into this story, because baby, I don't know. Yeah, I got bamboozled. Okay, but so anyway, we're gonna go back to 2018. It was actually my last semester of my senior year. So it was spring 2018. Well, I was technically a super senior. Like, I was supposed to graduate in 2017. But college hard, y'all. College hard. I don't care. Like, college is hard. If you graduate, don't let anybody, I know it's a sidebar, but don't let anybody like put a time limit on you. I don't care how long it takes you to graduate, like, graduate. But it's my second senior year, so my last semester, my senior year. And this is when the bamboozlement, is that a word? Bamboozlement? This is when that took place. But we wanted to go back to my fall semester. I was picking classes, and honestly, like, I was lit because it was pretty much the first time that I could really just pick classes and, you know, not have to run around and get overrides, because that's a whole nother story for a whole nother video. But anybody who knows me knows, like, I did not have a smooth like journey in college. Like, every semester I was like trying to just scrape up classes to take, because they kept changing the requirements for like your degree, and I was just frustrated. Anyway, so I think I only had to take like 4 classes, and all of them could be like, well, I don't know what they call, like, those extracurricular classes, but I think they had to be in your major or something like that. But regardless, like, so I really wanted to take some good classes, and I was kind of in like panic mode, because in my fall semester I took my what is that class called? What is that? The senior something. I don't know what the class was called. I forgot. But if I remember, I'll put it on the screen. But I took that class, and part of the assignment was to create a portfolio of work, and then someone would come in that's in the profession and just review it. And if those who don't know, I went to school for multimedia journalism, and so when I put that portfolio together, I felt like it wasn't really diverse. Like, I had a lot of like sports stuff from my sports internship, and I had like a few projects I worked on for classes, but other than that, I really didn't have a lot of stuff on there, and it wasn't like clearly identified of what roles I played. Like, I think I only really had like 2 or 3 projects that I just did everything from start to finish, which is nothing wrong with that, because honestly, in almost any industry, like you're going to work together. So I really wanted to take like some classes that was going to really help me build up my portfolio. Like I knew after this next semester I was going to be going into the job force, and yeah, like that's a whole nother story as well for a whole another day. But they kind of just drill it in your head when you're a journalism major. Like you cannot start off in a big market. You cannot stay in your hometown if you live in a big city. Like, even though I don't consider Baltimore a big city, but yeah, like Baltimore is like a top 30 market. So they're all like, you have to go to a smaller market. And baby, I'm black. Like I'm not going to no little never mind. Anyway, I'm not going to no little hillbilly town, and I'm black. So I just wanted to really build up my portfolio. So my advisor was telling me that there was a class to take and they were going to record a documentary. And it wasn't like a secret, like that. It's been a few classes where people traveled, but I think this upcoming class, like nobody knew they were going to Paris, right? Nobody really knew during that time. So there were two classes technically going to Paris. There was one class, I don't remember the actual names of these classes, so we're just going to call one like the research class and one like the fieldwork class, right? So she was just like, yeah, I think with your background, what you like to do, I think you should take like the field production class. Like it wasn't called field production because I took a field production class that fucking sucked, but it wasn't that. I think you should take, she basically saying, I think you should take the class that I took because it was more hands-on. We were actually going to be like shooting the documentary, editing the documentary, all of that. And the other class was just like research, right? So I took the class, boom. I was like, all right, bet. I'm excited because don't get me wrong, the Paris part was just like the icing on the cake, but the cake for me was literally just really working on a documentary. I did not have that on my reel. I just thought like that would be something that would really stand out. And then the fact that I would be going to Paris, like all I was thinking, honestly, like I know somebody gonna be like, oh, she catfish, she lying. No, all I was thinking about at the time was just like, yo, this is gonna look really, really bomb on my resume, like, and boom, I can get a job. Like, I don't know, in my mind I had to get a job. So we're gonna fast forward to the actual class, right? So the class was cool. I'm not gonna name the name of the celebrity. Like y'all may or may not know him. He's not like, I'm not gonna sit here and say like he's like a poppin' celebrity. He's not. Like it's somebody that y'all probably wouldn't even think of. But I will say he was on a popular, is that really a sitcom? I guess he was like a popular family sitcom in the 90s. That's all I'm going to say, is that he was on that. And he still does work to this day. But I want to say like for our generation, well, I don't know who's watching me, but like if you're like my age, that's what you're probably going to recognize him from. But if you guess, don't write it in the comments. And if you are somebody that knows me, don't put it in the comments. Anyway, so it was him, and he had two like teachers aide slash, like I think they actually worked for him and his company. That's the thing. He also had a company. He still has a company. And we was taking the class, and people started finding out, and this is why I was pissed, y'all. People started finding out about the Paris trip. So you had people that weren't even really like journalism majors, or so it was like 3 different categories, I guess, or 3 different concentrations. Like you had like the PR people, and I honestly forgot what they changed that name to. Then you had the multimedia journalism, then you had the multi-platform production. Like no offense, like yeah. So you had a bunch of like PR people running over to try to take it. You had a bunch of people just trying to take the class simply because they're like, oh, we going to Paris. That's all I want to know. Like you going to Paris, period. Boom. So that was fine. I wasn't really tripping because I really just felt like I did stand out because I know how to use a lot of equipment already, and I just have really great work ethic. Like that's something that's always gotten me through doors, and it's always gotten me opportunities. People see my work ethic and they're just like, yeah, I want her. So I wasn't really tripping off of that, but it was kind of frustrating. Like y'all are just taking this class to go to Paris. But I was also frustrated because, like I say, it's a team. Like it's a team. When you are creating any type of production, you have to work with a team. So I really didn't want people that didn't know what they were doing to be on the team, because like I said, I was trying to put this on my reel. I was trying to put this on my resume. Like I wanted to look as great as possible, but I was neither, you know, that I was not tripping off of none of that. So let's fast forward like a few weeks into the class. I was kind of like just stressing a little bit because at this time I still did work full-time. So one thing about me, I technically worked all through college, like there were periods and times where I didn't have like a job on paper, but baby, the hustle was coming. I was hustling. So I worked all through college. During this time, I had a full-time job, and that full-time job was extremely stressful. I had a horrible manager, but at the end of the day, like, I gotta lay it right. At this point, it's, you know, you can't not work. It's so many fees. It's like graduation fees. You gotta pay for your books. You gotta pay for your cap and gown. You gotta pay to graduate. You gotta pay to apply to graduate. Like, it was just a lot. So I wasn't about to quit my job. So we in the class, and like weeks are going by. Well, not really weeks. I want to say like it was a one day a week class. So he's just explaining like, yeah, you know, there will be an opportunity for us to go to Paris, but not realizing, I don't know if he told us then, but not realizing like the other class was going to go to Paris too, but I think the other class had like more seats. He's just explaining that, and then he's explaining that before that trip there is a New York trip. There's this library, I definitely forgot the name of the library. If I remember it, I'll put it on the screen as well. And that's what we're going to do a lot of our research. So basically the documentary was for African Americans that moved to Paris, right? A lot of them moved to Paris, one of them being Josephine Baker. And just like why they moved to Paris, a lot of them moved to Paris for like better opportunities, a better life. Yeah, so I also thought that was extremely interesting, because I think that's something that not a lot of people know, and especially black people. Like, not a lot of black people know, like, yeah, like black history ain't just in the US, and it's not just us being slaves. And one thing you'll also learn about me, like I'm really just adamant on highlighting that like we were not just slaves. Like, that's not just all of our history. So basically we had different assignments, like smaller assignments, to just build up to it, because obviously you can't just drop in Paris and be like, boom, we filming a documentary. Like, it just don't work like that. So some of the smaller assignments just including like doing research on like a particular person that moved to Paris, like taking a person that moved to Paris and doing research. But like I said, there was a smaller trip to New York on a weekend. Now this is where it's important. Like, so we were supposed to go to New York, and it was on a Saturday. Now my job sucked. I worked on Saturday. I worked every single weekend. My schedule was literally Friday through Tuesday. I was off Wednesday and Thursday, the dumbest days to be off. Like, so I'm like, bro, like I gotta take off. I knew I was gonna have to take off for the trip to Paris, but like I didn't know about other trips. But you know, like I had some vacation time saved up, but you know, I gotta sprinkle it out, because I had to take off for my graduation. I just had to take off for a lot of things, because a lot of senior events landed on like the weekends or Fridays and stuff like that, and it was just like, well, I work, so I gotta take off. So I did put the request in to take off that day that we were supposed to go to New York. But before we went to New York, he wanted someone to pretty much like kind of do research and kind of do like some of the like, I guess you would say, boring work of like looking up the different materials that we would need to have pulled for us, so we can gather more information for the documentary. So he you know, was just like, yeah, someone has to kind of go and create like a sheet, that way I can send that to the librarian and they can already have those resources for us, so once we get there we can hit the ground running. That makes sense. So of course I volunteered to do that, and he wanted it done by the next time we met up for class. And mind you, that's a week, because we only had it once a week. So me going above and beyond, I had that to him before the next day, actually. Like, I remember, like, I got off work, of course I went to the class, of course I went home. That was the first thing I worked on, and I pulled a lot of information and I sent it over to him. That way he would just have the time to send it to the librarian, and the librarian would have time to gather all the materials, because it wasn't just like books, it was like books, documents, pictures, like just a bunch of things. So the time comes to go to New York, and I think the New York trip got pushed back a week, or it moved. Whenever it moved, like it moved with too short notice for me to like change my request. And the way I had to make requests at work was like, you really couldn't talk to anybody. It was just like a system, and basically like the people that handled the schedules didn't even work in the same city as us. So it's not like I could just go to my manager and be like, hey, can I get this day off? Well, I could, and he did help me out for Paris, but he was kind of an asshole. Like, I hated that manager. But yeah, So I ended up not being able to go to the trip in New York. And I remember him saying something real slick because we went around the room and he asked us like, are we going to be available for a Paris trip, and are we going to be available for the New York trip? And some people was like they was available for both. Some people were not available for the New York trip. Some people were not available for the Paris trip. So I was just like, yeah, I can't make the New York trip, but I can make the Paris trip. And he was just like, oh, it's convenient that some of y'all can make the Paris trip but not the New York trip. And I'm like, bro, like, first of all, relax. Like, especially for me. Because I'm like, did I not do extra work? And it's not like I got graded on that. That's the thing. Like, I didn't get no extra credit, no nothing like that. I just did it just because, well, one, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of like a research junkie. Like, I look up everything. Like, I look up everything. If you tell me something, like, if I find something on TikTok and you know how they like tell me a fact that you wouldn't have known if you didn't look it up, or you wouldn't have believed it if you didn't look it up. Like, when somebody says it, I'm gonna look it up because I don't believe you, but I want to do my own research. So that's just me. So he made that little slick comment, and I'm just like, all right, whatever. Like, at that point, I'm just like, I don't even know if I'm going to end up going. So we were supposed to go, I think he was aiming for around spring break, just so we didn't really have to miss our other classes, because obviously we are still in college. We still have other classes, other assignments. But I know we could not go for whatever reason. I don't know if the ticket prices was cheaper or whatever, because mind you, this is free for us as students. Of course, the school is paying for it, but this is free for us as students. So of course they're going to try to find the best deal. So in the meantime, of them going to New York, and between the time of them going to New York and between the time that we're supposed to get ready for Paris, we're having like little small workshops when we're kind of like learning how to use certain equipment, just like crash courses, even though you should know how to use some of this equipment, but I'm not gonna lie, the school didn't do the best job. They're a lot better now, a lot better, shout out to them. But, and some people, that just wasn't their like field of study, so they wouldn't know anyway. So he was just really just adamant about how important it is to just know how to use the equipment quickly and efficiently, because you know, if you're like interviewing somebody for a documentary and they're under like lights and stuff, it's hot, they sweating, they might be on a time crunch, have meetings, you never know. So we did take some workshops for that, and we also continue just building the documentary itself. Like, you know, you had to make a treatment and everything for it, so we're continuing that. And they went to New York and came back. I ain't gonna lie, I think the people that went to New York really thought it was about to be like, oh, we sightseeing in New York, and then they realized like, oh no, we gotta really work. And I'm like, duh. So anywho, fast forward to spring break. Like I said, they tried to get it during spring break, but we could not go during our spring break week. But I remember just being home, like this was literally the day before spring break started. So I was done my classes for the week. Yeah, so spring break technically didn't start, but it was the day before. I got an email from not an email from my professor, but remember how I said there was another class that had to come with us. They were like doing research, and I'm not going to hold you, I don't know if we were doing all the research too. Were they doing research as well? I don't know. You'll know why I don't know if I continue the story. So that professor emailed me and was just like, hey, do you have your passport? Because you've been selected to go to Paris. I was extremely excited, but I was also stressed out because, like I said, they switched the week. So I didn't really so I had to go back to work and request those days off. And I think they accepted every single day I requested off except for 2. So I had to humble myself and go pretty much beg and plead my manager to give me those 2 days off. I had to explain to him why, and I didn't even really like explaining. I didn't want to explain why. I'm not somebody that likes to announce my moves or announce just things that I'm doing, because I'm really big on energy. And I'm not gonna lie, that manager was a hating ass motherfucker. That was a hating. He was a hater, like a straight up hater. Like, I don't care what nobody say. He was a hater. He hated everybody and everything. Like, I don't even know if he hated everybody, but he hated me and my class. Like, he hated the class that came in. And I know this sounds confusing because it's not a class like college. It was like a training class. So it was probably like 30 of us that came in at once. I'm just convinced he hated us. I'm convinced like he hate dogs, he hate cats. He probably hates small fish. Like, he hates everybody. So I had to humble myself and just come to him and say, hey, this is the situation. This is really important for my grade, like, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, well, I'll see what I can do. But I already had it in my mind, like, baby, if I gotta call out those 2 days, I gotta call out those 2 days. So, but he did end up overriding those decisions and allowing me to go. But he did wait till the umpteenth hour. But I already replied to the email and said, yup, I got my passport and I can go. I got my passport and I can go. So I'm pumped, right? I'm pumped, pump it up. I get so distracted. You better. So I'm ready. I'm like studying even though I know how to use some equipment, like I'm not gonna lie, like every camera's not the same, right? So I'm just like looking up stuff. I'm just preparing myself, like just excited. And y'all, whole spring break, I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I don't even think I really did enough in that spring break. I was just mentally preparing myself for this trip, like doing more research, everything, like trying to brush up on my editing. Like I really wanted to go. I think also during this time, there was another like teacher that was doing like editing workshops and stuff, and I was taking it, even though like it started off slow. It was very slow, like the basics of editing, and then like it got a little bit better, like it got a little more interesting. Like we did like a trailer. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed making a trailer. But anyway, so I'm just like pumped, ready, y'all. Why the last day of spring break hit? Why the last day of spring break hit, right? And I get an email. That said, unfortunately, you are not going to be able to attend the trip to Paris. Y'all, I was in shambles. Shambles. And I don't even know if it was the same day or the next day, but I had to go to work. And this is also a humbling ass experience. Y'all know I sat at my desk and I cried. I ain't mean to. That was a whole ass accident because I don't cry in front of people. I don't do that. And somebody asked, because I think I was just like still heartbroken, still shocked. And somebody asked me like, what was wrong? And you know when people, you know how you can hold it together until somebody says like, are you okay? Or what's wrong or something? And then you just, the floodgates open. That was me. And of course my manager heard me. He was like, what's wrong, sister? And I just was just like, I can't go to Paris anymore. And you know how you can tell somebody like kind of give you a little smirk. And I was just like, this hating ass bitch. So yeah. Basically the email said, and this is the same email from the same professor that told me I was going to Paris, right? Not mine. So the email just basically said, yeah, like you are, unfortunately, you know, we had to cut some spots and you cannot go to Paris, and yeah, like the other class had more. This is when it kind of just solidified that the other class had more seats for Paris than we did, had more spots, I guess you can say, for Paris than we did. Why? So I'm thinking, whole time I'm thinking it's this professor that made the final decision, because in a way, like she had more tenure, honestly. Like she was an I don't want to say an actual professor, but like yeah, she was an actual professor at the school. Like she wasn't like, I think the other professor only been teaching like this is maybe like his second or third semester teaching. But yeah, so she had some more pull, so I'm like, okay, she bumped me off, and I really didn't even like that professor anyway, so it was just like whatever. But I get to the class and he's just basically like, yeah, I want to talk to you. I just want you to know that it was solely my decision to remove you from the trip, not Professor, we won't call her Professor A, not Professor A for asshole. He could be Professor B for, never mind. But it was solely my decision. He was like the determining factor. The determining factor was the New York trip. And he felt like he should give it to people that worked hard on the trip. And I was like, nigga. But I set up the whole New York trip. Well, not the whole trip, but it's like I set up I paved the way for y'all to have a smooth New York trip. So I'm not gonna lie, like And I don't want to say like I handled it the best. I think on the outside I handled it really, really well. I was just like, you know what, I understand. But on the inside, it was fuck you, bitch. It was fuck you for real. Um, because that was a bullshit. Sorry, I don't mean to be cursing like this. I don't mean to be cursing like this, but it was just a poopy reason. I'm not gonna say shitty. I already said it. Fuck it. But it was just a crazy reason in my eyes, because it was just like, bruh, like I couldn't go because I had to work, like, and you switched the date. It's not like I didn't take off for that day. I took off for that specific Saturday. I couldn't keep taking off Saturdays. Like, I think at that point, well, I know for a fact at that point, I already took off my graduation day because we knew our graduation days. I had to take senior portraits, and I already took off for those because the times and dates that they had them were just not convenient with my work and school schedule, because mind you, I'm still in school. It was a few other things that I had to get done that I had to take off for. I kept having to take off because they were always on Fridays or Saturdays, and I worked Fridays and Saturdays, and you only get but so much PTO, and I still had to take the whole week off for that. So it was like, yeah, I took off, and you only have a short period of time before you can say never mind to your PTO. So I think I ended up still having the original Saturday date off, but that ain't helping, right? So I was kind of just pissed with that. And just honestly, like I said, confused, because granted, even though I wasn't physically there, like I'm the queen of not being physically present, but still making a big impact. And if you want to video on how you can do that, I got you. But no, like that's really how I kind of sell myself, like, because I had such a, I don't want to say difficult, but it kind of was difficult, like college journey of having to work so much to just get through school. I really just had to learn to kind of be in two places at one time, even though I physically couldn't, but I could. So that's why I wasn't understanding. He even sung my praises on how fast and efficient the work was for them to be able to pull everything from New York. Like when they came back, he even said like the information that I sent over to the librarian really, really helped them. So granted, so because I couldn't physically be there, you get what I'm saying? So that kind of frustrated me. And then even like, you know how you sometimes, I'm thinking like, am I just tooting my own horn? Maybe I just saw it for what something, you know, saw it for what it wasn't. But no, people in the class were shocked, like when they found out we weren't going, because of course after spring break people talking about like, hey, did you get the email, hey, are you going, hey, are you going? And when people found out I was not going, they was just like, what? Like, but you one of the hardest workers in this class, if not the hardest. And I'm like, bro, I know. Like, you ain't gotta, you feel me, you ain't gotta rub it in my face. But it wasn't their fault. They was just as shocked as I was. So, like I said, I kind of checked out. I'm not going to lie. I kind of checked out as far as the preparation for Paris, because honestly, like the next two classes, it was all about them preparing to go to Paris. And then they were just like, yeah, when we come back, we're going to need people to help edit. And I was trying to be a team player. I was trying to be a good sport. And I was just like, yeah, well, fuck it, Sophia. Like, you can really help with the editing. Like, I was like, in my mind, of course I didn't say this out loud, because who am I going to tell the classes in Paris? I was just like, when they come back, I'm just going to try to really have a big hands-on role in editing. But I really didn't know how much I was going to be able to do, because if you've been to college, or even honestly, I think it's like that in high school as well, and probably middle school, I don't know, but you know, when you're about to graduate, whatever, your year is shorter than everybody else's. Like, seniors have to take their midterms earlier, they have to get their final grades in earlier, like, y'all know that. So I think like it was a tight timeline. I really think like from the time it was coming back from Paris, like we was only gonna have like 2 weeks left. But I said, and technically that's 2 days, but I was just like, you know what, if I gotta come up here after work every day, because I worked during the day, like I worked the morning shift, all of my classes were at night at the time, I was like, if I just gotta come up here after work and help. But I don't, honestly, to this day, I don't even know if that documentary got finished, and I don't even know how it went in Paris, because you can tell that it didn't go the way it was supposed to go, or as expected, because he was kind of just expressing his disappointment. And I think I got it mixed up with New York. I don't think he was really disappointed with New York. I think it was Paris. He was just expressing his disappointment and not being able to like kind of do everything, and the lack of experience that some of the students had with the equipment, and just, you know, the lack of focus. But I'm like, bro, like when you get a class full of people that joined so they can go to Paris. What do you expect? Like, you know, so he kind of just expressed that. But he did mention like, oh, you know, we are going to have to turn this over. And he kind of was letting like his teacher aides slash employees kind of be the like leaders of that, and we kind of just fill in. But like I said, to this day I really don't really know if they finished that documentary. And he kind of just like the seniors that had to graduate, I don't want to say he just brushed us off and just pushed us to the wayside, but in a way he did. But I understand to a certain extent, because professors do have deadlines. They did have to get our grades in by a certain point. So I think that was just his thing. He was just like pretty much like, yeah, like, you know, you got an A in the class, da, 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 da. And I don't really know what happened after that. So that's pretty much the story time on how I got bamboozled out of a trip to Paris. Sorry, it wasn't like no scamming thing like where I sent $1,000 or $2,000 to somebody and they, yeah, I'm not stupid. If I sound nasally, it's because my son gave me his cold. So I'm sorry, but I still wanted to film this. But yeah, so that is the story time on how I got bamboozled out of going to Paris by a celebrity. I know you guys, I did mention like in the beginning of the video, like it was emotional for me. And the reason why it was so emotional, I just didn't want to leave that as a cliffhanger. But I don't want to go too in depth, because I guess I can talk about this in a different video. Maybe like a sit down, chit chat, whatever. It was just emotional because it was just another thing during that time. I mentioned me working full-time and just kind of struggling with getting classes because the requirements were always changing. Between them changing the curriculum at my college, and between me trying to find a job that worked with my schedule, like I said, it was extremely hard. I always felt like I had to like kind of put one on the back burner, but in my mind, like I was just determined to still do both, because I kind of couldn't. Like, of course you can work for going to school, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to keep working like dead-end jobs and not get my degree. So it was frustrating because it took me a really long time to find the job that I had, and honestly I kind of started hating it, but I was still grateful for it because I went like a little bit over 2 years not having like an official job and literally having to like just hustle. That's when I became like a bottle girl, a bartender, and just like also just having side hustles to like make ends meet. And that was like the first job I had in 2 years. And I just remember like when I was job hunting, everybody just kept saying like, oh, you're in school, so you can't be serious about having a job. For some reason, like all the interviews I had could not get over the fact that I was in school, but I was applying to jobs that I knew other people had while they were in school. So I was so confused. And then when I would reach out for help from people, like I'm not even the type to ask for help. So I was reaching out for help like more so, hey, do you know a job that's hiring? Not like, hey, can you give me some money? Or hey, I wasn't even a can you pull my application ass bitch. I wasn't even one of them. It was just like, hey, do you have a connect? You know somebody? Can I contact them? How can I get my resume to the forefront? Do you know a job that will work for my schedule? People was just like, no, like you need to switch your schedule for this. People just give me advice that I already did. Like I was somebody like at one point I only went to class Tuesday and Thursday. I went to class for 12 hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays so I could have the other 5 days of the week open, and guess what? I still couldn't find a job. So when I found the job, and then on the other hand, you had professors that when you did work, they were just like, oh, you don't care about school, you only care about work. And I just constantly felt like during that time, I was just fighting both sides. Like I was defending the fact that I'm in school and defending the fact that I had to work while I was in school. And it was just like, bruh, like I'm getting stuff done. And I kept having to, like I said, be in 2 places at one time, having to turn in projects while I was, you know, during the time that I would be scheduled to work, and just having to kind of like leave work early to get to class, shoot out of class, and kind of miss some opportunities to get to work. So that was just like, I don't know, just kind of like when the rug is pulled from under you, because it was just like I struggled and fought so hard to graduate, and then just feeling like, okay, well, you're not as prepared as you should be because you just, you know, didn't have the time to really do a lot. I did do a good amount of things, and I did learn extremely fast with the things that I did do, but yeah, so that Paris thing was kind of just like it was like the hair that broke the camel's back or the horse's back, whoever back is breaking. It was my back. It broke my back. It was the bundle of hair that broke my back, because it was just like, bro, Like, imagine being like, oh my God, you fought for all this, you fought for all this, like, but this is about to be what pushes you over the top. But neither here nor there. Like, I still ended up getting a job in the news industry in 6 months, 6 months from when I graduated. If you guys want a tip video on that. And then I ended up, you know, hating that. And I can do a video on why I left the news industry if you want a video on that. And then I ended up getting a job and increasing my salary, and I actually do like that, and getting more skills, and now I work in the tech field. So with all that being said, if you like this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.